Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, the North East Swift dealer, and this is the handover for the Swift Kon-Tiki 794. So starting the walk round on the driver's side of the motorhome first. The first point you get to is your freshwater fill-up point. So you would carry a hose pipe with some hose pipe connections, as the sites mainly offer just a brass tap, so you'll need the screw on end, the hose lock end, and then leave this end of the hose flat. Unlock it with the circular Swift key, pop the hose into here and fill it until it either overflows or until you look on board your main control panel and see how much water is on board. There is a main overflow on the top of the tank, so if you do get a little bit of water coming out the centre of the van, don't panic. Does have a overflow on the top of the tank. If you can't get a hose to the van, what you can do is there's a point for a submersible wheel pump. This is your power pins. The other end goes into here, and the pump goes into the barrel of water, aqua roll, and sucks it out of there into the main freshwater tank. But that would be more if you're wild camping or you couldn't get the van close enough to the tap. Next up, you do have your mains connection point. So your mains connection point is for how you charge the vehicle, whether you're charging it prior to your trip on your driveway or you're on a site and you want to hook it up. You do it exactly the same way. So you lift the lead, hook the vehicle first, then make the cable live and do it in reverse order when unhooking, so that you're never walking around with a live lead. You've also got an external TV connection here. This is an F connector. You will need an adapter for that, but you can connect to a site's aerial should you be having problems with the aerial on the roof. In hard to reach signalled areas like the lakes, you can use theirs. Sometimes they offer a aerial which is connected to on the post, but you will need a length of coax. But this is F connection opposed to being standard TV coax connection. Just coming back slightly before we move on, under here, this is your freshwater drain off point. So electronic valve off the main control panel. You would drain this off if you've taken on a source of contaminated water, not using the vehicle for a while, or draining it down for the winter. You want to ensure that all the water is out of the freshwater tank so it doesn't freeze. So that's your fresh drain off. And just here is your waste drain off. So this is any water that you've used. Shower, dishes, hand basin, cups of tea, anything like that. Anything you've put down a plug hole goes into the waste tank. On the way out of the site, there's normally a designated point to dump this water. So you drive over the grid, again on your control panel, electronic dump, press the waste dump, drive over the grid, allow this to drain off. Once it's drained off, you can then drive home. But ensure that you get rid of this water at your site, because you don't want to haul it round with you, because you're just going to add weight to the vehicle, which is going to eat weight in your payload and make you use more fuel. So get rid of the water, and again make sure it's fully drained off in the winter to avoid any water in that tank from freezing. Coming on to your LPG locker. This opens with the round-headed Swift key as well. Push both catches in and you'll be able to open the door. I've got my test bottle on here now to show you gas appliances working. This runs off propane, which is your orangey red bottle, opposed to blue, which is your butane. Butane will freeze in the winter, whereas propane you can use all year round, as it has a much higher freezing point. You can fit 2 6-kilogram bottles in this gas locker. Once you put your bottle on, you want to put the collar and strap on first and tighten it up so it's nice and secure, before then connecting the pigtail which comes off the regulator to this bottle. So it's left to tighten, right to loosen. Hand tight first, then use a gas spanner or adjustable wrench and nip it up before turning the bottle on. And then there's a little black stopper here, depending on which way you've put the pigtail on. You need to push that in. Push that in, you'll hear the psh of gas, and you'll also see this go from red to green. Green means you've got a flow of gas, red means you haven't. So that means that the gas is fine. If you came out and that was ever red and your bottle's on, it might mean that you've just run out of gas. You'll have to either swap your bottle, or if you're carrying a reserve, take the gas pipe off this one, put it onto the other. And then finally you've got a crash sensor. So if that ever pops out, the little yellow nib there, push it back in and do a 10-second reset, and it does tell you on the back here how to do that. That can catch a few people out as well. Just make sure that hasn't gone off, because sometimes it can, with movement, go off, as it's designed to go off if the van was ever to be involved in an accident. It just shuts the gas supply off. External shower hose connection. So with the vehicle you'll get a hose which connects onto here, and on the other end of the hose you'll get a trigger gun. And what you can do is, if you can hose the dog off, the bikes, the boots, but the pump needs to be on and you need to have water on board the vehicle for this to work. And then you just want to push and make sure it's nice and shut properly before travel, otherwise that can flap. So just push the centre in to make sure it's shut. Coming down the vehicle, you've got your Aldi vent for your heating and hot water system. So on gas you'll see some fumes come out this. You might see a little bit of whip of water. It's totally fine, it's a condensing boiler, it's just how they operate, but make sure that's never obstructed with anything. And then under here, this again opens with the Swift square key, so it's a different key for this locker. It's this key here, so it does your 2 wet lockers where you can put your hooker bleed, your barbecue hose, your levelling ramps, your muddy boots, your wellies, whatever you want that you don't want to put inside the van that are dirty and wet in here. And what you can do is you can hose it out with a hose pipe and wash it out, because it's a metal lined locker. Make sure it's pushed in and make sure it's locked before you drive. And on this model you do get such a good garage area. So you've got a garage. These work off the main control panel on board. When that's turned on they'll work. You've got your heated radiator pipes and your radiator so in here gets warm. You've got D-rings in the floor to tie things down with, and on the other side you do have a 12 volt, 2 USBs and a main socket, so if you've got electric bikes or anything like that, or anything you want to charge, you can, as long as it's on mains over there. But the beauty with this van is you've got a raisable bed. So if you wanted to put the bike in, you can with the bed up, but if you haven't got the bike in, or you haven't got the larger items in, you can bring the bed down. So you would use the winder and you can bring it down. This is in its lowest position, and then you wind it back up and this is in its highest position. Before we move off the garage, just in here you do have the location of your boiler. So your boiler is one side, your leisure battery is the other. It's very important that you drain your boiler off in the winter. So there's this little panel here which is magnetic, and you've got your boiler drain here. So to drain your boiler off, all you need to do is lift this up. If you look underneath the van you'll see the water coming out. That is draining off 10 litres of water in the water system so that it can't freeze, and you leave that open during the time the vehicle is stood up in the winter. Don't need it drained off in the summer because the temperatures are above freezing. Any temperatures below freezing, you drain the boiler off October to March, April time. Drain it off, all the taps open within the van, remove the shower head from the hose, lie that down, stop any water from draining there, and ensure that both fresh and waste dumps have been drained so no water can freeze and the vehicle is fully free of water. Then when you come to reuse it, close everything, close all your taps, shut the drain of the boiler, so from sticking up to sitting back down. Then fill the vehicle with water. Once you fill the vehicle with water, you then have to prime it through. So on the cold side you'll get a pressurised flow of cold water from the tap straight away. From the hot side it'll cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises until you get a free flow of water. Once you get a free flow of water from the hot side of the tap, your system is primed. The boiler's been filled with that 10 litres of water because it's pushing all the air out the tap first because there's no water in it. So as you mix it, you'll get more and more air until you get right to the hot side, and you get a free flow of water, your system's primed. Then you can heat the water and start to use the vehicle again, but make sure it's drained off in the winter to avoid it from freezing, because it does void your warranty by Swift. It isn't covered, as it's your responsibility as the owner to drain off your vehicle in the winter. So to fit your detachable tow bar on the back of the vehicle, you've got some keys. First of all, you put your key in and you turn this so that these two connections go in, and this is primed to go on the van, so that when you put it straight into the van, it shows green. If that ever shows red, it's not on. So again, push that in, twist to bring it off, push it all the way back so it shows red, and then as soon as it connects, it shows green. And the tow bar is connected. You can then use the keys and lock it on board so that nobody can take your detachable tow bar off the van because it's locked to the vehicle. Unlock it, push it in, twist it, pull it off. When you've twisted it, twist it all the way back so it's ready just to be primed back onto the bar again. And next to it you do have 13-pin tone electrics, and you do have a designated breakaway mounting point here. So on the detachable tow bars, they can't go around the neck of the tow bar here. They've got to go onto a designated chassis mounting point, which is here. Sensors on the bottom, twin reverse camera and rear view camera here, and it's been strengthened in the back panel to take a full bike rack. So if you did want a bike rack on the back, it is a fuel you need, not a Fiamma, as your bars are fuel that has been fitted by Swift. This side of the garage, like I was explaining, you do have your 230 volt socket, 12 volt and twin USBs. You can fit these down or clip them out the way for loading things when you've got your bikes and things in. But pull the lever in the corner to bring it down and use the turnbuckles to secure. Again, another wet locker, so hooker blades, anything that you don't want in the van to cause a mess, you can put in here. But it's only designed to take weights up to 25 kilograms. To operate your toilet cassette, again push both catches in and you can release the cassette. To pull the cassette out, you need to lift the orange Thetford handle and slide the cassette free of the vehicle. You can then either carry it or you can wheel it to your disposal point, which on a site is normally beside your toilet and shower block, your Elson point. And then to empty, you need to take the grey cap off, pop the grey cap to one side, pour the contents of the cassette down the disposal point, followed by pushing the button in. This allows a bit of air in, stops it glugging, gives it a consistent flow. Tip your waste out. Once you've tipped it out, there's normally a tap, so put some water in, give it a rinse, tip out again, followed by a full cap of your chemical, which can either be blue or green depending on what the site prefer. 120mm measuring stick this is. Pop it into here and then it's good to go back into the van and be used. And your cassette will indicate on the toilet when it's full and requires to be emptied, as it has a built-in float in the toilet cassette. However, if that ever does get stuck, because sometimes it can get stuck from time to time with all motorhomes, because it's just the toilet itself, pop some water in, give it a shake, because the float sticks from time to time. Normally when the vehicle gets a little bit older, it might do that. You can put some water in, give it a shake and unstick the float and push it back in if it's still showing the red light on the cassette. Next to it on the Kon-Tiki, you do have a external mains 230 volt socket. You do need to be hooked up for this to work, and this gives you power if you're going to put an awning on, or you want to use a mains barbecue grill. You can connect it into here when you're on your site. And this side is your gas barbecue connection. So if you're using a Kadak or external barbecue, You get a quick release point with the van, pops into here, followed by you'll need a length of gas hose and 2 Jubilee clips to secure each end, and then you turn the grey tap on, which works off the main bottle. So when you turn that on, it allows gas supply. To unhook it, you push this back and you can be able to release your quick release connection. At the passenger door, you've got the location of your diesel tank. So your diesel tank on this is 70 litres and opens with the main Fiat key. So it is a lockable diesel cap. Underneath, you've got your AdBlue, which, because this vehicle conforms to ULEZ, Euro 6 compliant, it does take AdBlue, and it's 19 litres on a Fiat Ducato, which will do 5,500 miles from a full 19 litres. So normally once you've got another about 1,000 miles left to go, covered 4,000, 4,500 miles, it'll come up on the dash with a little notice saying AdBlue level getting low, so many miles until no start, refill. Take the cap off. Go to the petrol stations, your bigger petrol stations and your services that sell it on the pump. It's far cheaper, it's about £1.20 a litre. Because your petrol stations will sell it for £30 in a 10 litre drum, unless you buy it from a wholesalers, and you might get it slightly cheaper. But on a pump it's far easier, you can just pump it in like a wagon. Once it's full, it'll overflow. It takes 19 litres, and then it'll do another 5,500 miles on that 19 litres. Little top tip with a new Series 8 cab, once you unlock it and you want to get in the cab door, don't forget about opening the cab door, because it was built as a chassis cab. It doesn't see the habitation door, it just sees the 2 doors. And it's like most cars, if you don't touch the doors within a 4 to 5 minute period, it'll lock itself again. So to avoid that, as the habitation door's on the passenger side, just open the passenger door first before getting in the habitation door. Tyre pressures can be found here. So 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi. Your new weight stickers on the door, so it's stage 2. It's now a motorhome, it's not a chassis cab anymore. 4.5 tonne gross vehicle weight, 6 tonne train weight, so that gives you a 1,500 kilogram towing limit behind the vehicle, and the front and back axle weight. Underneath the seat, you'll find the location of your toolkit, which includes a jack, a brace and a tone eye. Underneath the floor, you'll find the location of your engine battery. It's not underneath the bonnet, it's underneath the floor on all Ducato relays and boxes. And here you do have your bonnet release. Underneath the bonnet, you've got the screen wash, which is above the corner of the passenger headlight. Then 3 tabs are lifted off and you can fill your coolant, followed by your clutch and brake fluid. You've got an oil filler here. There's no dipstick, it's an electronic dipstick, comes on the dash. So you do need to go to a garage or have a computer to read the level of oil in the new engines. So do just be careful with that. Paint codes on this sticker here, should you ever need a touch-up stick or any paint. And then, as it's built on the Alco chassis, again, same weight as the one on the door. This is stage 2, 4.5 tonne gross, 6 tonne train, front and back axle weights. If you ever need to jump start the vehicle, as the battery is underneath the cab floor, there is a jumping point underneath here. So this is your earth, so black clip on there. Down beside your air filter, pop your key or a screwdriver, flat screwdriver in here, and lift this little section up. And you've got a positive terminal there for giving or receiving a jump start. So now on board the vehicle, to operate the Swift control panel, your on-off switch is here, which is your master switch. So you just press that and you can turn it off, press it again and you can turn it back on. It then brings you into the main menu. So you can go to lights, entry light, you can select your dimmers, dimmer 1 and dimmer 2, and you can pop these on. And you can select your on and light. So just highlighting them means they're on, when they're blank it means they're off. Power, so you can see that your leisure battery is charging at 13 volts. and there's currently 2.2 of an amp coming in, and that's your load, and 0.3 from your solar, but ignore the solar because it does go to sleep when hooked up because it can't compete with mains 230 volt. And it also tells you your vehicle battery status of 12.8 volts, so it's good. You can change it over by selecting the one that's illuminated. So now that's charging the vehicle battery, sorry, and not the leisure. So if it was standing over the winter on the driveway, you might want to do a week on the leisure, a week on the vehicle, or 2 days, vice versa, just so both batteries are still taking a charge, so you don't get a flat battery. But you always want it onto the leisure when using it. Mains capacity, so you're getting 100% from the mains, and it's bringing 16 amp in. There's no, you can set a limit there of the load if you want abroad and you want a smaller CL site or an air to stop it blowing the van. You can put a limit on. Then you go to your water. So it's telling you your level of your fresh, so 75% of fresh water, 25% of waste. If you're away in the winter and it was potentially going to freeze overnight, when using the van you can put your tank heaters on, which heats the tanks to stop the water from freezing. When not using it, drain the vehicle down. Turning your pump on will give you a pressurised flow of water to the taps, toilet, shower and external shower. Without this being on, you will get no flow of water to the taps, but please make sure you've got water on board before turning the pump on, otherwise you will damage the pump. If you want to fill from the 12 volt pump point outside, if you can't get the hose to the van, you need to turn this one on, which is fill. You press drain for the fresh and drain for the waste to get rid of your water, and it will open your electronic control valves underneath the vehicle and get rid of the fresh or the waste water. But make sure you get rid of your waste before you leave your site, because you don't want to be carrying that round because it will use more fuel. And then you can control the fridge from the control panel as well. So you can turn your fridge off. When you've got it off with the fridge, leave the door open to allow ventilation to stop smells and mold from forming with the door closed, because it will get no ventilation in there. You can put on auto, and what auto does is it finds the best source available at the motorhome at any one time. So at present on auto, that'll be using mains 230 volt. If I was to unhook the van, it would switch over to gas because my gas bottle's on and it's turned on. Or if I was to start the engine of the vehicle, it will go on to 12 volt, and it'll do it all by itself. It'll detect which source is available. Note that the 12 volt isn't off the leisure battery, it's off the vehicle battery when the vehicle is switched on and running. So that will only work to maintain the temperature of the fridge when travelling from site to site, to keep your shopping nice and fresh. Or if you've pre-chilled it at home, put your shopping in the night before, and now you're driving to your first site, it will keep it nice and cool when travelling. Temperature, so you can go from 1 to 5. You might want to have it on 5 when pre-chilling on the driveway. Once it's down to temperature, you can turn it down and pop your shopping in so it doesn't freeze. And this tells you the temperature that the fridge is currently at. So it's at its optimum temperature. So it'll say warm when you first start, and it will then get cooler. So that just lets you know what temperature the fridge is currently at, and that is your Dometic fridge. You go into your settings and you can turn your key beep on and off if it's annoying. You can pair your phones to it by Bluetooth, and you've got all your control panel details this side. To control your Aldi control panel, you press here to turn on. It will bring you to the main menu. So you can see there that it's 13 degrees inside the vehicle. It's hooked up because it's got the picture of the hookup. It tells you the time in the top right hand corner, and it's circulating on the indoor temperature at 13 degrees. If you press here first, you'll be able to adjust the temperature to suit. So you can set it to the maximum at 30 degrees. And the top temperature there at 13 it's telling you that what it's currently at. So you just press the plus and the minus to get to the temperature that you want the inside of the van to be. The energy source, so you have electric on 1 kilowatt, which is 750 watts, 2 kilowatts, which is 1500 watts, or 3 kilowatts, which is 300 watts, and you can change, or 3000 watts even, you can change that by just moving it down the scale. And if you were wild camping, you would have the electric off and the gas on, and it's dead easy to put the gas on, you just need to flick the switch. But if you want to get your vehicle up to temperature quicker in the winter, I would suggest that you put the electric and gas on together for the first half an hour, 40 minutes, and then turn your gas off and allow the electric to continue to heat the van. But don't waste your gas when you've paid for your site fee, so just allow it to boost it and then turn it off and allow the electric to continue, because that's what you've paid for. Hot water, so if you've got no water in the boiler, you'd have it off. You can have it on and it will heat the vehicle and heat the water together. Or you can have it on boost, which is a 30-minute setting, and it will prioritise all the heat to the water by stopping the heating. You can set day and night mode. So day mode, you might want it to be 20 degrees inside the vehicle. Night mode, you might want it to be 15. It will ask you which temperature and it'll ask you how long you want it to run it for and which days. So you can set that so that it will automatically just drop down on a night, so it's not too hot for you, and then during the day, say at 7 o'clock, it will warm the vehicle up for you getting up. So you can set them by just pressing and going into day mode there, and night mode. You can turn your hot water on and off, and then you can, if you ever need to reset the control panel, there's your reset button. So you just press reset, and then it'll ask you if you want to do a reset, and it will turn the control panel off and completely turn it back on. So that means you'd have to set your temperature, your energy source, and your hot water all again. But that is your Aldi control panel. So in the kitchen, you do have a mains 800 watt microwave, but this is a new type of microwave which has an induction plate opposed to a turntable, so that there's no rattling coast off the microwave. It's just a heat pad that only works on mains electric and is connected up here. So you can switch that on and off, or you can just leave it on and it will come on when the vehicle is hooked up to mains hookup, 230 volts. Below you've got one electric hot plate, which again will work when the vehicle is hooked up to mains 230 volt. So now you have your gas burners. So make sure once you've had these on, you turn them off, again with the electric hot plate included as well. Make sure it's all cool enough before you put the glass lid down, otherwise you may smash the glass if it is too warm. Below on this Thetford hob, grill and oven, you do have your grill. And below, you have your oven. You have a light this side for the oven as well, but you may want to take your grill pan and oven shells out when travelling, as they can cause a bit of rattling when on the road, or you might want to wrap them up with tea towels just to dampen the sound of the rattling when going down the road. On the side you've got a sticker. This is your model number for your appliance, so should you need any parts for the grill, oven and hob, it's all on here. So quote your dealer these numbers for any burners or any parts for the oven, grill and hob. Below you've got a storage drawer on this model. Pushing the catch in to secure it before travel. Storage, this is your sink drainer, and you do have your gas isolation valves down here as well. So you've got one blue, which is for your, just tell you there, so your blues for your fridge, your greens for your oven, and your whites for your So you've got 3, but the white doesn't tell you what it's for, but you do have your oven and grill. Oh, it's for your heater there, it's this one here. So it's your heater, your fridge and your oven. Any problems with gas, turn the main bottle off. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. However, if one appliance is causing an issue on gas and you were wild camping where you weren't connected to mains and you were using your gas, you can shut off a valve there to enjoy the rest of your holiday and not have any further problems with that appliance, because you're isolating the gas from the manifold to the appliance. In here you do have your storage drawers, cutlery drawer located here. Above you've got some storage, so there's storage for your plates here and various items around and above your microwave. 2 230-volt sockets in the kitchen which work when hooked up, which are great for your kettle and toaster. And you do have your lights for your lounge, which are are here as well, along with your table switch and fuse for your drop down table, but we'll talk more about that when we show you how the front bed makes up. So to operate your Dometic fridge, to turn the fridge on, this is a flush panel, so just put your finger on the power button here and it will turn on, and press the mode button to skip between your sources. But what I would personally do is leave it on automatic. Automatic is an automatic energy selection and it'll do it all for you. So it'll pick out mains 230 volt and always prioritise that first. However, if you weren't hooked up and you had your gas switched on, it would switch over to gas by itself. And then if you started the vehicle's battery, the vehicle's engine, from the vehicle's engine battery, you get a feed on the battery setting. It's not on the leisure battery, it's only on when the vehicle is physically running. So the idea here is that you pre-chill it beforehand at home, put your shopping in the night before. When you drive to your first site, on automatic it'll switch on to battery and it'll act as a giant cool box, keep your shopping nice and fresh until you arrive back on site and either hook up or go on to gas if you're wild camping. Or if you're travelling from one site to another, it'll just keep your shopping nice and fresh, like I've already said. However, on the automatic setting, it does wait 20 minutes before lighting on gas once the vehicle is switched off. This is a safety feature in case you forgot to isolate your gas cylinder. So it will not light for 20 minutes, it will flash and beep. What you need to do here is press mode and just change the source to gas on its own. You can select the source manually, but I would just leave it on automatic to select between battery when travelling and mains. The only time you would need to take this off is to put it on gas if you're wild camping. Temperature here, so 5 being the coldest when pre-chilling. Turn it down once you put your shopping in, because sometimes it can freeze the fridge. And with this fridge you can open the door both ways, depending on if you're getting beers from the front or you're getting stuff to prep your food out to prep your meals from the back. When not using it, turn it off and leave the door open. There is a little clip here that you can pull out. It's a bit fiddly. Pull that out there. That rests on that little chrome stopper there and stops the fridge door from shutting, which allows air ventilation in and out of the fridge when not in use. So above the fridge is a location where you'll have your MPPT solar controller unit. That works directly to the leisure battery, but it'll only work when the vehicle is unhooked and not on mains 230 volts, because it goes into sleep mode when the vehicle is hooked up to mains. And then to check your battery status, you do it through your main 12 volt control panel. And then next to it you do have your Vision Plus 570 TV aerial and booster. So at the back you've got your booster, which has a min and a max on the amplifier, so you can amplify the signal. And you can also bring the signal down. So if you're too close and it's pixelating on full, try turning it down. If it's on minimum, try turning it up and stopping the pixelation. If you're still struggling, you would then adjust the TV aerial. So you would adjust this to loosen it off, push the stem up, tighten, and then you can use the little toggle to direct the aerial. But look where your other motorhomes and caravans are pointing on your site, and you shouldn't have to mess on for too long, because they've obviously done that to get the best TV signal. So you just point yours in a similar direction, and then you'll have to retune your telly every time. Making sure that it's pulled in and tightened before you drive off, just so no wind can damage the aerial when you're in transit. The switch located in the kitchen is your table control. So as long as you've got power on, 12 volt, you'll be able to press up and down and adjust the table in the lounge. You do also have a fuse for it here, so if the fuse does blow, it's a 10 amp fuse, so carry some spare fuses with you for all electrical equipment, but you just pick the fuse out and replenish the fuse here for the electrically operated table. So as Swift have a belt for birth policy, underneath these two lounge seats you do have two travelling seats. So to assemble the travelling seats, which I'm going to show you this side, but it's exactly the same that side, what you need to do is you need to remove your cushions. So these two you want rid of, put them on the bed, store them out the way for now because you don't need them. These two you want to keep, so lift them off. There's a seat back there which has Isofix, so if you're putting children in there, the Isofix mounted seats for your car seats. Pull the lever back and lift the seat back. Then your seat back and your headrest comes up. Lift that up a click or two. You've got a seat belt on there and you've got the Isofix like I said. But to make the seat up, you need to first put your infill cushion on, which can be found in the garage. This is hard backed, has a bit of velcro on, so that goes here and wedges just up to the underneath the Isofix points. Then this is your back of your lounge seat. That's hard backed, so that becomes your base. So that butts up to the infill cushion, and again velcro's on. And then your back, or should I say your base, your soft base, becomes your back. And then there's a little turnbuckle just down here. Flick that down. And there you have one forward facing travelling seat with cup holder at the front. So that takes an adult as well as a child, whereas some other manufacturers just make smaller seats which are great for children, not so good for adults on a longer journey. But these are full-size adult travelling seats, and you've got one either side in the back of this van. So to make the front lounge into a bed, you're best off lifting the cushions up first so you can get the table down without it butting up on the cushions. Push the button in the kitchen and drop the table down. You need to push it this way as far as you can without, so there's pretty much where it needs to be. Slide the table extension out so it helps bear the weight. Lift the table over. Again, it's got to sit on these stoppers, so it just needs to be over slightly to there, so it bears the weight well. Then you pull your base cushions forward, but you also pull this section out, flip this one over, which is on top of your Sergeant control power supply unit for your van. So that would flip over, and there's a little leg underneath which folds down. Your back rests, you pop into the back, like that. But you want to turn your backrests the other way, so when they're on the lounge they're that way and the cutout is to the bottom. Put the cutout at the back, and what it does is it helps you get it nipped underneath the section here, so you can push it all the way back. It's a bit fiddly, you can push it back. And the same with that one, turn it over, that in there, and then that one turned over. And there you have your double bed. You're probably best off getting a mattress topper so it's a little bit more comfortable for the people sleeping in here, but that's how it forms up with the cushions. Backs in at the back, base cushions forward, and there you have an extra double bed at the front of the van. So on the other side, just beneath your lift up flap for your kitchen, you do have your charger unit. So you've got your Sargent power supply unit. So this slides forward, obviously helps make the bed up, and we'll get onto that in a moment. But you do have your EC600 power supply unit, which works this side on mains. So mains 230 volt, you've got your trip tester. If you weren't receiving power, the best way of checking is if something plugged in isn't working, or a microwave, try pressing the test button. The vehicle trips, you've got power. If it doesn't trip, look where you're connected to, because it might be a problem with either the hookup cable, which is pretty slim that it's a hookup cable, but it's normally where it's connected to, so the site or the house socket isn't working properly. Above you've got your charger and your heating and hot water, mains 230 volt fuse spur, and these will light up when the vehicle's hooked up. When it's not hooked up, it'll not light up, but just make sure you haven't pushed them out, because if you've pushed them out, they'll not work. They need to be pushed in and left illuminated to let you know they're working, so just forget about them. And this side you do have your fuses. So you've got 13 fuses in the fuse box there. There's a list at the back here showing which does which. Carry some spares with you in case one does blow. You can replenish the fuse, because if you've got a 12 volt appliance that isn't working, it's more than likely your fuse is blown, which can happen from time to time without any notice. So you would get a red light at the bottom, you'll be able to pick the fuse out and replenish it with the same fuse. So that's why it's important to carry a small selection of fuses with you in your glove box, so that if you ever need a fuse, you've got them with you. And then finally, you've got your system shutdown button. This is a battery isolation for your 12 volt. So if you're storing the vehicle for any length of time and didn't want a power drain off your leisure battery, you can push this button and this will turn off all 12 volt to the back of the motorhome from the leisure battery. So no control panel will work, no light will work, everything will be dead until you turn that back on to allow you to operate the main control panel. So to operate your panoramic sunroof above the cab, which is 12 volts, so you do need your control panel on, and it's all controlled through this switch here at the front. First of all, you need to take the ties off the skylight, so push them all the way at the front, and then use the switch, and you'll be able to open it. It is good practice with your windows and skylights that you carry a can of WD-40 silicone spray and just spray the rubbers every couple of months. They do get done on pre-delivery inspection and on every habitation service, but just with the vehicle sitting in the sun and then being cold, sometimes the windows can stick on the rubbers, so spraying it stops that. You've got your skylight. Just because this is above the cab doesn't mean you can drive with it open. Again, all skylights and windows must be closed before travelling, as they are just plastic and the wind will cause sufficient damage to them. So make sure they are closed. Have a final check before you leave your site that all your windows and skylights are closed before you start driving to your next site or on your homeward journey. Press it the other way, it'll come down, and then pull them to the back of the van, and that is locked. So now in your centre washroom, so your door has a magnet on the bottom, so this can be a bit tricky and catch a few people out. You've got to give the door a good pull to get it closed, because that's how it's stuck back with the magnet on the floor on the bottom of the door itself. So one side you've got your toilet. To operate your toilet you need to ensure that the water pump's on, as the water comes from the freshwater tank on this van. So it's got no separate header tank for the pink liquid, it's freshwater fed for your system. You press the blue button here, which gives you a bit of freshwater flush. Put a small amount of water into the cassette before using it, and then before you use it you want to open the grey lever, which is known as the blade. So this slides to the right. You use the toilet, you flush after use. If you've got any pink liquid you can still use it, but you'll need to put it in a spray bottle. Put so much pink in, dilute the rest with water, keep it in your toiletry cabinet, spray the bowl, flush at the same time. It works the same way, it just cleans the bowl, odour neutralising spray as well, and then shut the blade. Always ensure the blade's shut after use, as if the cassette indicates it's full, which it will with a red light underneath the diagram of the cassette, you'll be able to slide it straight out the side of the van, take it to the Elson point, empty it, rinse it and replenish it with chemical. If that blade's open, the cassette won't come out the van because the mechanism on top of the cassette is engaged, so the cassette won't pull out the side of the motorhome. Under here you've got your toiletry space. There is a pipe in there for your heating, so this does get a little warm in here as well, along with a bleed point for the radiator system. So similar to the radiators at home where you can bleed them for cold spots, you can with that one as well. So you've got this one here. This just shows your water pumps working. And you're getting a supply of warm water through there, so it's getting warm. Shaving plug, small sample of blue, some more toiletry space, a hanging rail for your towels and toilet roll. And then this side, lift this up here first and release here. You'll be able to open the shower, pull this all the way back and push this in, and this will then keep the shower screen tied back from coming any further forward because it's locked in. You've got your shower cubicle. Make sure you don't clean your shower, your sink or your toilet out with any bleach or any harsh chemicals, because you will discolour the finish of the plastic. You do just need to use a dishcloth, a microfiber cloth and some soapy water. It's good enough to clean those out without causing any damage to the plastic material that they're made out of. One little top tip: when you are winterising the van, don't forget about the shower head. So when you've opened all the taps throughout the van, you've drained the boiler, you've drained the fresh, you've drained the waste, remove the shower head from the hose, lie the hose in the shower tray just so no water sits in here and potentially freezes and causes any damage to the shower pipe itself. You do have a hanging rail, which is great for wet towels if you've had a shower. It's also great if you've been caught walking the dog or out for a walk in the rain. You can hang your coats on a hanger onto here, let them drip dry, and if it does drip dry, it's in a wet compartment anyway, so it's not going to cause any damage by leaking onto the floor because it's going into the shower tray anyway and it'll drain off. Above you've got a small Hecky skylight. You can open this if you've had a shower, or you're opening it when you're having a shower to let the steam and a bit of ventilation through the van. However, make sure it's always closed before you drive, and make sure that the blackout blind or fly screen's over. Obviously blackout blind on a night, fly screen if it's open, and you're in midgy season to stop them from coming in the van. So in behind your mirrored cabinet in the bedroom, you do have the location of your Aldi header tank. So your Aldi system runs on G13 VW coolant, and it has a 5-year lifespan. So every 5 years they do recommend that it's fully drained off and replenished, same as your car with a coolant change, because what happens is it's getting hot and cold all the time. It will lose some of its properties on the antifreeze, so it is best that it is changed every 5 years as recommended by Aldi. So this was put in on the 6th month, so June 24, 5-year lifespan, every 5 year for a change. When it's off, it'll read very close to minimum, if not slightly below minimum, but because it's a header tank and it gets pressurized, once it's up to temperature, it could be reading close to maximum or slightly over. Never top it up until you've ran it up, because you want to run it up to see where the true level is before you think about topping it up, but always allow it to cool before you top it up, before releasing the cap, because there's a lot of pressure in there. You wouldn't want that to come out the top being hot, because you'll hurt yourself. But you top it up from the top. You've got a breather pipe. It tells you everything there, so if you need it, G13 coolant, you can go on Aldi's website, you can buy their own, and they do recommend a few others that they can buy that conform to Aldi standard. Also in the bedroom, you do have pre-wired TV prep points. So you've got 12 volt TV aerial and a mains 230 volt socket, which will work when hooked up. If you were to put a telly on, I would always tell you to get a 12 volt telly, because they work when hooked up and not hooked up, opposed to a mains telly, which will only work when you're hooked up on a site. So if you are planning on doing any wild camping, a mains telly won't be what you need. You'll need a 12 volt, which is either Navtex, which are best on the market for the leisure industry, or a Cello, which are very close and it's still a good enough telly. And then you would just need to mount a TV bracket in this area, so you've got access to your pre-wired plugs. On either side of the bed, you do have a hanging rail, so you've got a wardrobe. Pushing the catch in, you can open the lockers and you've got some storage there. And then underneath, you do have individual reading lights, which are also dimmable from the back, so you can adjust the brightness to suit on the back of the bezel of the light. 2 speakers there from the radio in the cab, so they'll work if you want to put the radio on in the morning, listen to some music throughout the van. They're pre-wired to the bedroom as well. And then you do have your large skylight, which is exactly the same as the one in the shower, but just on a much bigger scale. So push the button in, pull the bar back, blackout blinds and a fly screen, but ensure that it's always closed like this before you start driving.